We are Colorado Quilts of Valor, and I would like you just to take a little look around the room. Besides your guests and yourselves, there's many quilters in our audience, and there's many quilters here. And we are representative of the over 300 quilters in Colorado who are involved in Quilts of Valor. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Quilts of Valor is. And if you would take pictures, it's fine, but don't get my hand in front of my face or with my mouth open. Those are all the photos I have of my staff. So we are Quilts of Valor. We are a national organization. We're in all 50 states. We started here in Colorado about 10 years ago, and we have built up to a minimum of 300 quilters. At any time, we have up to 500 people who are participating in Quilts of Valor. So we're here today to honor you and to thank you for your service. Our desire and our mission with Quilts of Valor is to cover all service members and veterans who are touched by war with a comforting and healing quilt. Sometimes you're going to look at our quilts and you say, oh, that's a really cool blanket. But there's a big difference between quilts and blankets, and ours are just not any ordinary blankets. Each quilt has been pieced and made with you in mind. We may not have known your name at first when we were making it, but believe me, we are thinking of you every time we are working on our quilts. Many of our quilts are worked on by more than one person. And a lot of you came through our sewing rooms today, and you saw people cutting binding and making quilt tops and whatever they're doing. They're working very, very hard in there. And more than one person is working on that quilt. Each one of them wants to offer a thank you to you and wants to give you a hug for your service. But we don't want to accost you on the street. So we figured that the quilt is the next best thing. So to make a quilt, first we must choose fabrics. I try to buy fabrics, they buy fabrics, quilters have stashes. So we try to pick fabrics that we think that you would like for your quilt. They're then cut into lots of pieces, and then they're sewn back into blocks. This is a block. And sometimes we have block wrappers, where we let lots of quilters across the United States participate and ask them to make a 10-inch block, and we incorporate it into their quilt. So some of your quilts have been worked on by 2 people, some of your quilts have been worked on by 30 people. And no worries, they've all been washed, so they are ready for you to use. After we sew the pieces back into a top, I lost my place. It is sent to a machine quilter. A machine quilter has a really long machine where they drive a sewing machine over it, and so they put the stitches in to hook everything together. So if you see right here, you've got little ribbon stitching. And that's just putting all the love and the thank yous and the gratitudes that we have inside this quilt. But it's still not finished yet. It comes back to us and it needs to have its binding. And a lot of you saw them working on binding today. That's the final piece that puts all those hugs and contains all those thank yous inside of them for you. These quilts are meant to be used. They are meant to be loved, and they're meant to be a thank you for your service and a hug when you need it most. We as quilters think that this is the best way that we can offer you a hug, and it's a tangible thank you that you can take with you to know how much we appreciate you. We hope that these quilts are healing and comforting to you. We hope that you will know that there are Americans who still think of you. Thank you for your past service, and thank you for the service that you continued in after you came home. If we could have, we would have welcomed you home there, but we couldn't. So this is our best way of saying welcome home to you. We want you to use your quilt. We want you to use your quilt when you're having a good day. We want you to use your quilt when you're having a bad day. We want you to use your quilt when you're watching the Broncos finally win again. We want you to have that around you so that you know that there were people thinking of you. That Americans still are good, and that we do appreciate what it is that you've sacrificed and your families have sacrificed for us. These are lifetime awards, so they're not handed out just casually. You've been nominated by someone important, has nominated a lot of you today, And we thank him for that. We thank him for letting us know that you're there and that your service matters to our country. So these are kind of lifetime awards. There's a label on the back of each one. It lets you know who finished putting the quilt into a top. It lets you know who quilted it. It lets you know who bound it, so that you can know that those people have been grateful for what it is that you've done. By writing your name on it, it is yours. It is yours to use. It is yours to be a part of your life. It is, we kind of think that they're heirlooms, that something you will want to share with your family, and you can let them know of your service too. I know a lot of you don't talk about your service. This is a great way to open up to your spouse, to your children who don't know what a wonderful thing it is that you've done. So I'm going to call each one of you up to receive your quilt. We would like to show you all the quilts, and we'd like to wrap it around you. If you don't want your quilt wrapped around you, just shake your head no and they won't, okay? But we want you to feel the love and the hugs that are in it. And I truly think that once it goes around you, you're going to just know that there's a lot of people who really appreciate you. So, with that, our first recipient is Fred Passwaters. He served in the Army. This is Fred's quilt. And it was worked on by some red hat quilters, and it was quilted by Kathy Bailey, who's here in our audience. So.
The lady that did quote this, I really appreciate it very much. Knowing that somebody cares means a lot. Thank you.
This is Jim Adams, and he served in the Army. Was made by a gal in Colorado Springs who's a veteran herself, and it was quilted by a gal in Denver. So, we love that.
Thank all the other veterans that are here, and it's a long time coming. I like the way that people are treating the younger veterans, but I also like the fact that the guys that were forgotten, a lot of us are now being remembered. I thank you very much, and welcome home, brothers.
Our desire and our mission with Quilts of Valor is to cover all of our service members and combat veterans who have been touched by war with the comforting and healing Quilt of Valor. At first you look at our quilts and you think blankets, but they're not. There's an awful lot of work that's gone into them. And many of our quilts are worked on by more than one person. Each of them wants to offer a thank you and a hug for your service to our country. To make a quilt, first our fabrics must be chosen. So we have people who go look for fabrics. We kind of raid our own stashes. We purchase them in things that we think that you would like to have in your quilt. And then they're cut into pieces and they're sewn back into tops. But the tops may also have blocks or pieces that are contributed by others as well who want to say thank you for your service. And once the top is done, it goes to a machine quilter who does the stitching to keep the binding, the backing, and the top together. And then again, they're stitching in love and hugs and thanks to you, and they're thinking of you while they're working on it. But it's not finished yet. It comes back, and then we have people who put the binding on. And the binding is the edging on the very final piece of it that really secures all of our love and our hugs and our thanks into that quilt for you. Our quilts are meant to be used, they're meant to be loved, and they're meant to be a hug to you when you need it most.